The Echo Chamber, brought to you by the Holmes Report and produced by the international broadcast specialist Marketeers. Sponsored by the Bullet Group, putting you in tomorrow's conversations today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Echo Chamber podcast. Joining me from London is the Holmes Report Associate Editor for EMEA, Maja Pawinska Sims. Maja, welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me.
This is not your first podcast, but people will think it is because your first podcast is not going to air for a while.
No, but yeah, I'm practically an old hand now.
Yeah, I think so. You're a veteran.
Yeah,
podcast.
Let's not say veteran.
Okay, all right. Fair enough. Are you a veteran of Cannes, which is what we're here to discuss?
I am. Well, sort of. This will be my fourth year.
Oh, that's nothing. 4 years is nothing.
I know. I've got nothing on you there, but...
This will mark my decade.
Oh my goodness.
A lost decade, I feel.
A lost decade on the Riviera.
Well, if you add up all the hours and days I've spent there, I mean, there's a lot of existential angst, I feel.
I'm sure there is. Are you looking forward to it? Are you still excited about Cannes?
Oof, I was going to ask you that. We're going to get this podcast off on such a gloomy note if you ask me if I'm looking forward to Cannes. I'm
looking forward to Cannes. I'm
good.
Really looking forward to it.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm glad that there are members of our team that are looking forward to Cannes. I would say that I am not dreading it as much as I usually am.
Okay.
Which I think
that's damning with faint praise there, but okay.
It's positive. Cannes is, it's like another planet, isn't it, really? But what I think people underestimate, and I know it's easy to say this, but I find it really hard work for certainly it has been for me for the last 9 years. I've not kind of found it to be somewhere where you can really spend a lot of time taking in sun and drinking rosé.
No, that's what no one believes when you get home, that you've literally done the hardest week's work of the year. But now I've always found that as well. I mean, there's obviously the occasional glass of rosé, but it's really hard work. It's kind of you're on from practically kind of 9 a.m. till past 9 p.m. every day.
Well, I mean earlier than 9 and often, earlier than 9 a.m. And often later than 9 p.m.
Yes, it is hard. It is hard work, but it's not a bad location to be doing.
Yeah, no, there are definitely worse places to work. And look, let's not pretend that we're on location in Afghanistan or somewhere.
No,
there are much tougher journalistic gigs out there. Yeah, so that's all true. And we do get good content out of Cannes. I think we do some. We're very busy. We have a lot of things going on next week. We've got, you know better than me because you've mastered the schedule. I think all our listeners should be aware of this, that you've mastered the Cannes schedule.
I am the mistress of the Cannes schedule. It's all colour-coded. We've all got our individual calendars. It's like you've got a proper mum brain on this now. All organised.
We were pretty organised even beforehand, I should hasten to say.
You were not colour-coded, come on.
No, the colour coding is new, and I think it adds a new dimension. So if we want to talk through quickly, just so people are aware what we are doing in Cannes, we have our reception on the Wednesday evening, which is now packed to the rafters, and I don't think we can take any more RSVPs, unless, of course, you're Martin Sorrell or whoever. In which case we can probably get you in if you're listening. So that's Wednesday 5:30 with our friends at We Communications at the Martinez. Then we have a couple of panels. One of them is on Wednesday as well, right? Is that correct? Yes, it is. That's the one with Fleischman Hillard, at the House
The
of
importance
PR.
of visual impact for creativity. Yeah.
Exactly, with Japanese creative label LDH, and I think 2 or 3 people from Fleischmann Hillard. So that should be fun. That's at, I think, 3:30.
Yeah, that's right.
Good. And then Thursday we have a session with Ogilvy at the MediaCom Penthouse, also in the Martinez, where we're going to be talking about integration. That's at 2:30 until 4. Interesting lineup. We've got Dusty Jenkins from Spotify, Lisa Jadan from Bacardi, Stuart Smith from Ogilvy, and the Holmes Report moderating. And then I think we have one more thing, if my memory serves me correctly.
We've got our CEO breakfast on the Friday morning as well.
Yeah, that's invite only. So
That should be
yeah,
fun.
it will be fun. But and we get great content out of it. We have a live podcast also on the Wednesday, 11:30 to 12:15 at the House of PR with We Communications International President Alan van der Molen. So if you're in Cannes, you feel like you don't have enough Alan van der Molen in your life, please come to the House of PR at 11:30. Okay, so that's everything we're doing. That's the important stuff.
Yeah, that's the headline news. What the Holmes Report is doing at Cannes, no question.
Now we can talk about what the rest of the world is doing at Cannes. What is interesting you this year, Maja?
There's 2 or 3 definite things that are emerging. I think we need to kind of go back to how Cannes is going to be different this year. I think that's the big thing that everyone's going to be looking for, because there was, that announcement in November that everything it's getting shorter. So it's going to be, what is it now? It's just 5 days now. That's it, start to finish, including health, including innovation. So it's 8 days down to 5. So it's not going to dominate 2 weekends, which is a relief for everybody, quite frankly.
Yes, indeed. It's like a diet can.
Slimline can.
Slimline can, indeed. Yeah. Although I still feel like Cannes is basic. I mean, so it's down to 5 days, and it used to be a lot of. I mean, it kind of went on forever. I could never tell when it started and when it ended. But now it's very clear. So we've got 5 days. But I still feel like it's definitely, there's less going on. You definitely get that impression, particularly in terms of the holding group. So WPP schedule seems lighter, which is understandable. And I think the other holding groups, they're all sending fewer people. They're all doing less. They're all basically spending less, right?
Loads, yes. It's really noticeable that the network presence is hugely reduced, and there seems to be a real sense of appearing to be cost conscious as far as their clients are concerned. That's the kind of impression I'm getting, because it's across the board. It's not that IPG are having a bad year and have decided to send 3 people. It's all of the groups. There's less events going on. We are not getting party invitations. There's not a single yacht on my agenda, so I don't know what's going on there.
You're lucky in that case. I think yachts are massively overrated, if you ask me.
Come on, who doesn't like taking their shoes off to walk on somebody's white carpet?
Exactly. Who doesn't love being surrounded by ad tech bros?
You've got to love an ad tech bro. And then we got this release from Publicis, didn't we, yesterday, where they've really I think you can be almost too transparent. They've kind of they've spelled out exactly who's paying for the attendance of everybody who's going there, whether that's clients or clients.
They're sort of donning the hair shirt, I feel.
I know. It's honestly, I don't mind. It's okay to have a few people there. I don't need to know, but
being Cannes, it's sort of a gilded hair shirt.
It's definitely a sunset tinted hair shirt.
Definitely a bit sparkly.
Yeah, it's very sparkly, quite pink, but bling. Is there even a Facebook beach this year? I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. Look, there are still things going on. We're probably just not being invited to them. But yeah,
that's entirely possible.
Entirely.
Why are we not?
Entirely possible. I think, but then I also feel like it's still quite a large, big-boned individual trying to squeeze into a perhaps slimmer suit. So there's still, there's still tons of stuff in terms of the kind of main stages, and a lot of the fringe content sessions are still going on. If anything, the pullback seems to be maybe in the sort of overt hospitality and parties and receptions, which is no bad thing if you ask me, because I always felt it was a little bit unseemly.
Well, I think we'll probably be seeing less magnums of Provençal rosé with sparklers coming out of them on the Carlton Terrace this year. That's my hot take on Cannes.
Well, that'll be interesting, because there will be the story by around Friday where some enterprising hack actually does his or her research and can tell us how many magnums were consumed compared to years gone by.
The Wimbledon angle, how many strawberries were eaten? Exactly,
yes. So, Diet Can, definitely pared down. The awards are kind of sort of all been revamped and not entirely clear in terms of what it all means. But in terms of the PR lines, anyway, it means that rather than being on the Monday, where you always felt like they were getting PR out the way before the main business of Cannes started.
Absolutely.
It's now on the Thursday, so that's interesting. So everyone will now, I guess, stick around for the PR lines and then flee on Friday.
Yeah, but I think there's like 120 fewer subcategories for the awards this year. I mean, that's how ridiculous it got. And they've got this new point system. So apparently it's going to be harder to win. And then there's that other thing that you can only enter a campaign for 6 categories this year, I think. So this ain't, I think we're going to see a bit more variety, hopefully, rather than the same things winning.
Yeah, far be it from us to question the number of award categories, though, I should say.
I know, that is pot calling kettle majorly, but, Cannes was ridiculous.
It was. So what is interesting you about next week? I know last year you were quite focused on kind of technology and creativity, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's it. I am a bit of a secret geek, and I do love. I mean, I've been to the dipped into the Innovation Festival for the past 3 years since it started, which is where all the cool AI, AR, VR, robotics stuff and how that applies to marketing and comms and brands was going on, and they've rolled that into the main program this year, which I think is only started last year a bit, so I think that's completely logical, and that is definitely still a theme this year. There's lots of stuff about AI and AR and lots of stuff about voice. There's several sessions about finding brand voice, quite literally. Lots of stuff about the connection between innovation, tech innovation and creativity, kind of the art plus science thing. So that's definitely still a theme that's running through a lot of the sessions on the main stage and in the Palais too as well.
Yeah, sure.
So I'll be sneaking along to a couple of those. I always like to see a robot on stage, always brightens the day up.
Yeah, indeed, especially compared to some of the people you see in Cannes.
Yes, more human.
Yeah, robots don't get drunk.
No, they don't, but nobody's getting drunk this year because we're not on expenses. No one's on expenses, are they, apparently? So it's all going to be interesting. Some people apparently even paid to take themselves. So, it's all going to be very different. So that's, I think, yes, definitely the tech innovation strand is very much there. I'll be going to quite a lot of stuff to do with that big theme of diversity, inclusion, gender, equality. There's lots of great sessions about creative women. I mean, I don't know whether anything ever changes as a result of us talking about how creative women can change the world, but it's always good to see year on year. There's all the big events like the IPG Women's Breakfast. UN are doing a great thing about creative women this year. Gabriella Lund doing her panel session with, I think she's got 10 really cool women on stage talking about creativity in all its forms. So that's a unexpected, not unexpectedly, a huge strand this year. So we'll see if anything new comes out of that. I mean, I don't know how much progress gets made by people on stage talking about this stuff, but we shall see. Okay,
cool. So from my perspective, I suppose it would be interesting to run down some of the things that the different PR agencies are doing in Cannes.
Yeah.
So Fleischman Hillard has a couple of interesting sessions, I thought. One is on creativity in China, for which they've got Alibaba and Huawei, which I think will be interesting. They've got another one on the importance of visual, or is it visual storytelling, something along those lines, actually with LDH again, on one of the main stages. Richard Edelman will be joined by actress Ellen Pompeo and Kirsty Walk, for Fame or Fail. So I guess it's that kind of focus on brand authenticity. Ketchum have a couple of interesting things. If I'm not mistaken, they've got a session on whether creative marketing can help solve the opioid crisis.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
Yeah, I think so. And then there's something with Joanne Robertson from Ketchum London is doing something on overcoming the bias and barriers blocking workplace creativity and innovation. Any other PR agencies? I think, we. So more Alan van der Molen.
More Alan van der Molen. We can't get enough of him.
Can't
get enough of Alan.
Well, clearly. Well, so it's this year anyway. Let's see what happens next year. But he's doing a session on what is it? What it takes to be a human? Something along those lines.
He wants to be a human, but the cool thing about that is it's a game show. They've gamified their session, so that's either going to be like the best thing of the week or not. But
so no pressure. Do you think there are prizes?
I think there might be prizes. I have to check that out. But yeah, they're doing the session with Contagious, and I think it's a game show. So I can quite see Alan as a game show host. So I think that should be pretty cool. I'll be going on to that one.
Okay, cool. Oh, I forgot to mention that one of the other sessions worth paying attention to is the insights from the PR jury, which is also the House of PR. And I think it's at Thursday morning, although the timing has changed a little bit. So stay tuned. Yeah. And then, so beyond all that, the other, I guess then you have kind of the headline sessions. Martin Sorrell coming to Cannes on Friday. Of course, lots of Sorrell coverage in the last few days. Maya, I don't think we're allowed to necessarily talk about the coverage in detail because of legal concerns.
Yes.
But it will certainly make for an interesting session.
Well, if he's still there on Friday lunchtime and he shows up, I think that'll be.
Do you think he will?
I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? Not knowing, but my guess is that he will style that one out and show up and be as bullish as ever about his plans and just completely focus on his plans for his new S4 group. So we'll see. That will be interesting.
I thought the latest coverage was a bit of an anticlimax.
Moving on.
Okay. Michael Wolff is going to grace the main stage on Monday, talking Fire and Fury, the new normal. I imagine that will be well attended, talking about fake news, journalism, social media, and I'm sure he'll find time to talk about Donald Trump.
He might mention Donald Trump.
That looks pretty cool. I'm always interested in what China brands are doing. So Huawei has a couple of interesting sessions on global perceptions of Chinese brands, which I think is it's a topic. It's an evergreen topic now, and almost like diversity and inclusion. You wonder if anything will ever change.
Well, there's a lot on China this year. There's like 4 or 5 big sessions.
Yeah, but I think what used to happen is they used to have this China Day, didn't they? But now they don't. So they've kind of, I think, taken all the sessions that they used to put in a little room somewhere for China Day, and they've sprinkled them throughout the program, which I think makes more sense.
It makes much more sense. It's the same with health as well. I mean, all the healthcare stuff isn't kind of sidelined. It's all very much part of,
it's out of the ghetto.
It's healthcare innovation and China are out of the ghetto.
Yeah, they are ready for prime time, or are they? Yeah. We'll see. We'll see this year.
We'll see.
Mark Pritchard, always worth watching, I find, at Cannes. He will have strong words, no doubt, for agencies. Yeah. Keith Weed as well. I mean, Unilever does really important work, so they're always worth checking out. And I think kind of in line with what you were talking about. I mean, you were talking specifically about tech innovation, but Cannes has morphed so much into a tech conference, and so much of it now is driven by the tech platforms. With the holding groups kind of relinquishing their grip a little bit, it kind of will be an interesting dynamic from that perspective, don't you think?
Yes, I do actually, and that was really noticeable. It kind of started last year as well. It was really noticeable that kind of the social platforms and the tech guys were more dominant than the holding groups, and more dominant than the ad guys in many respects. So it'll be interesting to see this year how Cannes feels. I think who it feels like it's for this year. I think
ad tech bros. I think.
Yeah, well, they've got some money. They've got some money, and the holding groups are flat. So much. So we'll see. I think the other thing that we haven't talked about is the work, and I think that's the thing. That's the thing that is always my biggest takeaway from Cannes. It's really whoever's out there, however many people you send, they have to go and see the work and immerse themselves in some of the best creative work in the world, whoever came up with those ideas, and then take it home again. I think that's the thing that, from my experience, that's the thing that people get most out of from Cannes. It's not just about the networking and the David Attenboroughs and the Johnny Marrs on stage. It's very much the let's take some inspiration home and inspire the people who we didn't pay to bring out here to do their best work as well as a result. So I think that's a really important bit of Cannes. Even if you just go and spend 2 days immersing yourself in all the little 2-minute videos, it's time well spent. I mean, there's some stunning work out there.
Yeah, I think it's really important to share your wisdom with the proletariat back home.
Is that what I just said?
I mean, well, I don't know. I'm just paraphrasing. I mean, that's kind of.
I think that's the big thing. That's the thing that everyone can get out of it. And also, kind of streaming loads more this year. They've made it a lot more accessible for people who aren't going.
No, but they're selling a streaming pass. So let's be.
Are they selling that now?
For journalists, it's there's more available, but for others, let's be clear what Cannes is doing. It's not necessarily more accessible. But it's a good idea, I think.
It's a good start. It's a good start, isn't it? That you don't actually have to be there to see the creative work, because that's always been
it's a good idea. I think commercially, it's a really good idea. Any celebrities you're looking forward to?
Well, I was looking forward to seeing David Attenborough, but he clashes with something else I've got to go to. Johnny Marrs looks like it'll be a good session. Paloma Faith is doing something on creativity and motherhood, which would be, it's like slightly left field, but that's her all over. Michael Wolff looks like a really good session. Oh, there's this thing, The Death of Masculinity with Faith Popcorn.
Yeah.
That fits in with the whole gender thing, but that looks like it'll be a pretty interesting session.
Yeah, I think for me, the ones I was kind of interested in, there's a session with Common, isn't there? At some point, I think on the Wednesday or Thursday, I can't remember exactly what day it is. Hollywood meets Madison Avenue, that's the one.
Oh yes, that looks really good.
Cannes now has this tradition of bringing out, at least one big name rapper every year. I'm not entirely sure that it adds a lot to our collective intelligence about brand communication, but I'm not complaining. So
it makes Cannes look down with the kids, doesn't it?
It does. Well, not so much Common, but
middle-aged people.
Vic Mensa, who really is down with the kids, is at a session on what brands can learn from hip hop.
Wow, are you going to that?
No.
That sounds right up your street.
No, I will not. I think once I go to a session on what brands can learn from hip hop, it's time to return my hip hop credentials at that point. And reevaluate my life choices.
Okay.
Couple of sessions on Friday quickly that I think are really interesting. One is the park. Sorry, just one session on Friday because we talked about Common. The Parkland survivors are going to be doing a session called "The Real and Raw Power of Conviction," and so that's with that's when Nicholas Carlson, the global editor-in-chief of Insider, and, you know, obviously we joke about all the celebrities that come out to Cannes with no noticeable effect, but, you know, having the Parkland survivors there is I think is really important, and I'm going to try and make sure I'm at that one, because I think there are some very interesting lessons in terms of the movement that they have set up, and who knows where it will take us. And that, in a way, I think, if brands are really serious about figuring out how to tap into culture, how to build these movements, and how to tap into the energy of the youth, that could be the most interesting session in that respect.
I think that would be fascinating, actually. I mean, it's the power of youth activism and the reach of social after huge events, and the fact that young people seem to be taking the lead on that is really inspiring, and I think that would be a really moving session as well.
So, any Cannes tips that you have for people, apart from don't get horrendously drunk on the first night?
Oh, okay, thanks for that advice.
No, I'm not saying you ever did that, but it's just something I see people doing, and I always kind of wonder.
Don't peak too soon. Do not peak too soon. It's a long week. Pace yourself. Don't just eat bread 3 times a day, as lovely as it is.
That's the Paul Holmes diet.
That's the Paul Holmes diet, is eat bread from Thursday. We're on the just have a fridge full of cheese, I think, aren't we?
I will be, once again, naked bars will be my...
Naked bars are the way forward.
Fully nutritious plan. Wear comfortable shoes.
Oh my God, wear comfortable shoes is an absolute must.
Wear shoes. I mean,
wear shoes. Wear shoes. Carry snack bars with you. Pace yourself. Don't try and go to everything. You can't go to everything, so pick a theme and stick with it, really, I think is a good thing. Or just go to whatever takes your fancy and that you're really drawn to. You don't have to I go to the stuff that not everybody is talking about. That's because you can often find some gems in the side rooms that aren't necessarily on the Lumiere stage. So I agree.
I mean, some of the big celeb sessions, honestly, are the most, or the least worthwhile. The other thing I'd say is take it with a pinch of salt, because if you start taking it too seriously, then the FOMO will kill you, because you'll just be wondering about, the problem people have at Cannes is they're always calculating whether they should be at something else.
Yes.
That's kind of more important or more interesting or more glamorous and more exclusive, and that FOMO will just kill you, I think. And it's very hard.
FOMO central. It's very easy to do, but just go to whatever takes your fancy. I think it's a really good place to kind of indulge stuff you're interested in that isn't necessarily a core part of your job, but then the thing about being in the comms on the creative industries is that you draw inspiration from everywhere, isn't it? Not just, you don't stay in a narrow channel, because then you never come up with another great idea that changes things. So I think just go to everything that is even vaguely on the periphery of something that you can get excited about.
I would actually, I mean, if I didn't have to kind of cover all of the stuff we have to cover, so in my early years at Cannes, when PR agencies were not really that present, and I'd have like 1 or 2 things I'd have to do. I just found the best sessions always the ones that were the most removed from your day-to-day kind of existence. Because they take you out of your comfort zone. You start thinking about things differently. And so another session I'm looking forward to on the Friday is called Creating Anchors of Hope in a Stormy World, Mina. I was actually disappointed to find out when I read this title, I assumed that it would feature Stormy Daniels.
And it doesn't.
No.
It's a missed opportunity there.
It really is. I mean, it just automatically, given all of the news out there, it just seemed like such a perfect title. But no, instead it's a forum on brand authenticity with Patagonia, which will also be really good. But I think will be a little bit different.
Fascinating.
Yeah, but it's a little bit of a different angle than a session with Stormy Daniels.
I think we should canvass for Stormy Daniels to be talking about brand authenticity next year.
Well, she's done very well. I mean, that's quite a campaign she's running.
Yeah, smart girl.
So you can find all of our Cannes coverage at thehomesreport.com/Cannes. You can also find our schedule on there. You can find the House of PR schedule on the ECO website, which is ecopr.com. And if you're going to be in Cannes, come say hello. If you're not, follow our coverage. I'm sure there'll be some of you trolling us on Twitter for being in the south of France, and that's all part of the game as well. And thank you all for listening. Maya, I'll see you on Sunday, I guess.
See you Monday. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to The Echo Chamber. Brought to you by the Holmes Report and produced by Marketeers. Sponsored by the Bullet Group, putting you in tomorrow's conversations today.